Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I get a chance to learn a little bit more about somebody else's perspective on movies. And this week, one of my very good friends, Paige, is here to talk something quite horrifying.
What is this, number 5?
Yes, this is Paige's 5th time on the show.
Yay.
Tying Jess, my wife. So, and we are going to be talking about Hereditary from Ari Aster, which...
I'm scared.
If you haven't experienced it, what an experience. But, Paige, are you ready?
Barely, but yeah.
So, why do you think Hereditary has become such a modern benchmark for people when it comes to horror movies?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really quantify. I think, I can only speak from my perspective. I just think it's so grotesque. This is spoilers, so deal with it if you're watching this, but that shot where you see Charlie's decapitated head just covered in ants, it's just so disturbing. I can't even explain why. I mean, other than the obvious, it's a dead kid. But
A24 horror.
Yeah.
Disturbing.
I know, that's a hot take from Paige right here, but
should be their tagline.
I know, right? I feel like Ari Aster just really knows when to whip out the gore. You know, it's there's not a ton of gore, but when there is, it's literally gagging.
Yep.
Same with the rotting corpses in the attic.
Yep.
So I think that's it. I think he really knows when to really pull out the big guns, and you never see it coming, and it's so explicit. So
that's a perfect segue into my next question,
okay.
Which was, how well do you think he balances the fact that this is a film about generational trauma and familial drama and a very grotesque, horrifying cult film? Mm-hmm. So, how well do you think he finds that balance with this?
I think very well. I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I, as a social worker / therapist, I hear about generational trauma and study it and read about it all the time in my work. And I don't know, when I think of Hereditary, I don't even think about that. The main thing I come away with is this dude, well, one, this dude needs therapy. And two, it just is so grotesque at the right moments. And that's why it's so disturbing. Perhaps I'm missing the point, but I don't really think about the generational trauma. I don't think that adds to the sense of dread for me because it's just my life. It's just my professional life.
I always felt it's because about 2/3, 3/4 of this movie, for the most part, is focusing on the drama aspects with some sprinklings of really disturbing stuff along the way. And then he emotionally drained you to the point that once that happens, it just rips carpet out from under you, and you're just I am so emotionally done here. Yeah. I am a defenseless victim to what's going to happen now.
That's so true. And it's funny because I don't, I totally agree with that assessment. But as I said, I don't really find the generational trauma part disturbing or upsetting, at all. Because it's, that's, what I do all day, every day in my job. Is hear people talk about that. But I think it's more just the, innocuous stuff happens except for the rotting corpses. And that eviscerates me emotionally. So, I don't know. It's different journey, same destination, I think, for
That's
you
fair.
and me.
And how about the turn? Because there's a very specific point in this movie where I feel it takes it over the edge. Because, spoilers, if you haven't watched Hereditary, but, the moment where she chucks the notebook into the fireplace.
Yeah.
Husband, charred, and then... Is it Nat Wolf? Or no? It's because there's two brothers, right? The son wakes up in his bed. And then from that point on, this movie is just something else.
Yeah, that's true. That's where it takes the turn.
How do you do you remember how you were feeling in the theater or watching this wherever you were for the first time on how you reacted to that scene and what may or may not have been swimming through the just air in the back of the room?
Oh my god. I've only seen this movie twice ever. I rewatched it for this discussion. The first time I saw it in theaters, and I was like drenched with sweat, like stuck to my seat. Like when I stood up afterwards, I was just like, the theater was dead silent. I felt traumatized. Like, and that's why I haven't watched it again until now.
Well, it'll do that to you. And what's so, like, I really appreciate cinematography, and like I'll be sitting in a theater looking at like the whole screen and stuff, and I remember sitting in the theater just being like, and I turned to the person next to me who I was seeing it with, and I'm just like, is there something in the top left corner of the frame?
Oh god, yeah!
And then I'm like, and then it cuts to a high angle shot, and then
stop it.
Through the air, I'm like,
I'm freaking out just hearing it. Oh.
And I'm like, well, there we go. I was perturbed, to say the least. God. And then obviously just goes from there. Now, there's obviously Ari Aster has a lot of things that he puts into his films.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that he needs to work through. But yeah, sure.
That too, probably. That he puts into his films. What do you feel like's the significance of the fact that the mother does all these models?
So, from my perspective, again, as an angelic social worker and therapist, I kind of view that through the lens, kind of like an art therapy / like play therapy lens almost. Like she's trying to gain control over things and try to make sense of them through these like models that she does. And I think the fact that she chooses these dollhouse-esque tableaus is especially important because what do you do with dolls? You play with them. You make them do exactly what you want. And I think she desperately wants to do that and can't. And I think she desperately wants to control herself too. Like I think there it's just very chaotic, which I think is common in generational trauma. Like, and chaotic people, tend to have a desire for control later in life, obviously. So that's my take on it. It's fucked up. It's very unhealthy.
Well, it's an interesting because that's the thing is that she has no control.
Yeah.
Because it was always her mother, and we don't see her. We don't see Toni Collette's character until her mother's dead. Because that's how the film starts.
Yeah. And
we see her in the aftermath of that weight being lifted. Because, like, the mother wanted to... Like, she had no contact at all with the son growing up. She always wanted to be the one, like, breastfeed Charlie and all those kind of...
Yeah.
And you're right. I feel like Toni Collette's character doesn't feel like she has any control in anything. And this is her desperately trying to grasp her things, and obviously it doesn't turn out well for her.
Yeah.
As things go on.
Clearly.
But how great is Toni Collette in this movie?
I mean, she's amazing. I found her character, like, I hated her character so much. I hated her so much. So, it's funny, though, that you say Toni Collette's dealing with the weight of her mother being lifted, because I kind of disagree with that. Maybe I'm being pedantic, but I feel like she just replaced one weight with another. I don't think... My opinion is kind of that it's exploring how even in death her mom is still controlling her. And it's just like a different type of control.
Well, I guess one way to deal with the weight coming off of something is to just put it right on something else.
Yeah, well, or that too, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm being pedantic, but, I don't know. Yeah, she was so fucking annoying, though.
Well, that, like, it's hard to... I feel like this character's been through so much that has, to the core, broken her in so many ways. And she has no healthy way of coping with anything. And we feel that. Like, it's just lashing out. It's big, emotional, just relief without any kind of control. And it's like dealing with Charlie's death. She can't even communicate with her own son.
Yeah.
She very obviously has a healthy relationship with her husband. Sarcastic.
Wait, oh, I was like,
You missed the look on my face.
Okay.
There's something very cold and distant about it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Toni Collette just jumps right into this. And this is one of those performances that unfortunately keep getting overlooked because, like, horror movies. And realistically, the only horror film that's really gotten any kind of attention at the Academy Awards for major awards was Silence of the Lambs. Besides that, nothing.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And, you know, you have the performance that Toni Collette gives here, and Florence Pugh in Midsommar, and Rebecca Hall in basically everything that she's been doing lately. Her movies are a lot less well known, but like The Night House and stuff like that, and you just see these performances that are incredible, and there's just like a shudder to them because, like,
oh, it's horror.
We don't look at that one.
Yeah.
And just, she's so fiery, and
I agree.
And then, of course, when she goes completely, like, possessed, horrifying. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, and then when she saws her own fucking head off with piano wire, it's like, oh my god. Like...
It's just like, nope, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, we've obviously hit on this as well, but what do you feel like are the main significances of the maternal dynamics that are presented in the film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I actually never thought of it that way. I guess I just thought of it more as, like, parental dynamics or, like, just kind of generational
well, maybe
dynamics.
I just thought about it because,
No.
like, to be honest, the husband's kind of just, like,
But
off to the side. And, well, yeah.
That's still part of the dynamic. Again,
Yeah.
like, I'm really not trying to be annoying like he's saying this, but, like, that's what I think about as a therapist, because I think, like, thematically, you're right, like, the dad is a bit of a non-entity, but if you're looking at this through, like, family therapy systems theory, like, he still plays a very important part, you know, if you're looking through it that way, because he just doesn't react other than, you know, he reacts, like, very sporadically.
Yeah.
He's just kind of, like, a wall. And that, in my opinion, is... Like, I feel like we're kind of, like, shitting on Toni Collette's character here, but I feel like he's just as culpable. The dad. Because I feel like emotional stonewalling is almost worse because there's no attempt at connection there. Like, I feel like Toni Collette is desperately trying to connect and can't, and he just, like, he barely tries.
Yeah, I feel like the one moment where you see any kind of, like, genuine connection that he has with, like, his children is at the very end of that dinner scene, which we'll get to in a bit. Him, like, grabbing his son's hand for, like, very briefly, and then trying to go back to eating, and then just being like...
Yeah, like, that is so... You know, if you know anything about attachment theory, you know, studies have shown that, you know, like, a lack of attachment or insecure attachment is much more damaging to a kid than... How should I say this? Like, you know, the stonewalling kind of stuff is more damaging to a kid than inconsistent attempts at connection or, like, confusing attempts at connection. Like, you know, that's actually the worst thing to do to a kid is what the dad does, like, stonewalling. So I actually was kind of almost more focused on him when I was watching it because he's the most toxic one to me. Like, which I know is, like, so weird because the grandma literally sells her grandkid to a demon. But, you know, in terms of, like, family therapy systems theory, he's the worst, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to beat selling your grandchildren off to be
turned
into demons, but like
second worst maybe.
But that's the thing, because it's like there's no healthy relationships at all in this movie.
Not even a little.
And even the ones that seem like they're potentially there to be supportive, like Ann Dowd's character, is all a facade. And
she was so scary too.
That whole thing is just like she was playing her the whole time, and to get her to open the door, and boy did they!
Oh my god!
Boy did they! And it's one of those kinds of things that it's just like you finish watching this movie and you're like, well, at least I'm happy to have some kind of healthy relationships with people.
Yeah.
Now, what do you feel like are the most horrifying moments in the film?
Okay, so I'm going to expand more on the second most horrifying, but like the first most horrifying is fucking Charlie's head in the ants. I remember this so distinctly. I audibly gagged when I saw that because I wasn't expecting it.
No. Well, that's the thing. You watch the trailer and you expect this whole entire movie to be about Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kidding.
I know. Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting her death, but the shot of the ants, like, that will stay with me forever. Like, I looked away when I was watching it the second time. I didn't look at it. I couldn't. But that I feel like is such a given, almost. 'Cause I think, to your point, I think the second most disturbing moment was when Toni Collette finds out that Ann Dowd's character was, her grandma's fellow friend, cult member. 'Cause it's just like, Jesus Christ, like, how dark and fucked up is that woman?
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, because it's, like, the sheer glee she clearly takes in manipulating her. In retrospect, it's just, like, that's so dark. And unlike the demon possession, like, that really happens. And I see that happen all the time.
Well, and one scene that really gets me is the seance that Ann Dowd shows her. Because this whole scene's so tactile. Like, you see, like, the stuff moving across the table. And I'm just like... Because usually it's, like, big and obnoxious, like a scene like that in a horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's just so... Just, like, this little thing moving or, like, hair flipping. And I'm just like...
Like, you feel like it could happen. And
I'm like, I don't like this. And I am done. And one of the scenes that really got me, which was it was the lead up to the reveal of Charlie's head, is the fact that they kept the camera on the son that whole entire time, and you know exactly what's going to happen, and all you hear is the shrieking in the background. Then you're just like,
that was a great choice, I think. Like, directorially, that's not a word.
Directorially, I guess.
Directorial, yeah, that was a great choice.
And then,
nauseating.
The whole end of the movie, and like, creepy naked dude in the doorway. That was just one of the weird, I'm like...
Censored. I don't... I don't want to see that.
Hail Pyman!
Oh my god. And like, the shot also of the corpses, like, bowing down. Like,
or the corpse flying up into the treehouse.
Like, again, audibly gagging, like, because I'm just thinking, like, the smell, like, that's
you can smell it, like it's so detailed and grotesque that like you could probably smell it.
I hated that. Like, I loved it, but like I hated that.
Now, we kind of already talked about like some of the more effective things from like a directorial standpoint. How impressed are you by the amount of detail, like the little details that go through like this whole screenplay building up throughout the film?
Not at all, Shane. What the hell are you trying to say to that? I'm very impressed by the detail. No, I'm just kidding. I am very impressed, obviously.
I've been hijacked.
I know. No, I'm just kidding. I think... I mean, I don't know if this is, like, detail necessarily, but I am very impressed. I felt like the portrayal of generational trauma, family dynamics was super realistic. Clearly either super well researched or... from his own lived experiences. I would bet the latter. That dude clearly has shit he needs to work through. But I really appreciated that. Like, it wasn't melodramatic. I thought it was very realistic, which, you've watched movies with me where they're a therapist, and I'm like, this is wrong, like, nah. But I had no such critiques about Hereditary, so I will...
It's all very messed up.
Yeah.
In a very, very real way.
Yeah.
Now, we've kind of hit on a lot of the other questions that I have, so I feel like the last big one to kind of tackle, that dinner scene. How did you feel sitting and watching this movie for the first time, sitting through that particular scene?
Okay, you're not maybe gonna like this answer, but that was not, for me, not super interesting. Because I see that kind of stuff at work all the time. Like, I know, and, like, that's not to take away from any of the actors' performances, or, like, I think it was super well done. Like, I'm not criticizing the scene. But for me, it's like, yeah, like, seen this a million times. And, which, ironically, like, paradoxically, I think is a compliment for me. It's a testament to how real it is. So, sorry. That's my honest opinion, no.
I've experienced stuff like that, and it still gets me.
Yeah.
So.
Aw. Yeah, it's not fun. Like, it's not fun to experience in real life, I'm sure.
Well, I just feel like that scene captures so much about all three of those characters. Because, like, you can tell there's so much bubbling up under the surface in the sun, and that's one of the first moments where he kind of, like, lets it out.
Yeah.
And then there's so much scorn and vindictiveness in Toni Collette's character that she just lashes out.
Yeah.
And almost as bad as the moment where, like, I wish I never had you. Or I would, like, that was, like...
It's so sad. Like, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
And then I feel like everything you need to know about the father and his piece in all this is that little tiny moment of, like, him barely, like, pats son on the hand, goes back to doing his business, and then he still can't even eat. But, like, he's still not sitting there consoling his son.
He's not, like, involved at all.
Which also, like, if Toni Collette got nominated for an Oscar, they would totally put that clip of her just, like, screaming at him. And it's just, like, that was one of the moments in the movie where I'm like, this is bad family.
It's a 0 out of 10 family.
This is really bad. And, like, talking about, like, the details in the screenplay, I feel like there's certain things that just were placed so perfectly in terms of, say, one, the whole entire context of the son. And it was a throwaway line, or at least it felt that way during the group therapy session that she goes to, where she said that, like, she had no contact with her mother while the son was being raised. That just lays out so many important aspects of this film because, one, that's why they never could, like, groom him. Two, that's why they have to go back to him. Because that's who Pyman wanted the whole entire time to begin with.
Yeah.
And then the second, Charlie dies, that just opens that door back up again. And why she was so messed up and it was not accepting her. And that poor girl.
I know. Like, she got so fucked over, like, in every aspect. Interesting, I guess, although demons can experience gender dysphoria, I guess that's also something we learned from this movie.
Well, there you go.
Not
it's just
really
like,
relevant.
I don't feel right in this female body. I need male form.
Yeah. Trans rights. We respect everyone's gender identity, even demons.
Even Pyman. But, like, there's just... That's the thing that I appreciate about A24 filmmakers is a lot of them have such detail to everything that they're putting together, and it all is flowing the same direction, and Ari Aster does that especially, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Bo, which I still kind of wish it was Disappointments Boulevard. I feel like that was the original title of his new film that he's going to be coming out.
Yeah.
But apparently it's a original cut's 4 hours.
Yeah, I read that, which, like, I mean, I'll watch it. I'll watch 4 hours of the movie.
It's definitely getting cut down.
Yeah, I mean,
but, like, it looks like it's going to be something.
Yeah.
And he knows how to make a compelling central character and have a great performer come in and do that. I'm very interested to see what Joaquin Phoenix does with all of his material.
I'm scared, yeah. Like, I mean, I'll still watch it, like, immediately, but, yeah. So, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. So, let's kind of think about this in terms of, like, reverse engineering, right? So, what do you think Ari Aster... I always say he has stuff to work through. Based on Hereditary, what do you think happened to him as a child?
Well, the thing is, like, I can't speculate on what actually happened to Ari Aster, because to be fair, I don't know anything about him.
I looked it up online. I couldn't find out anything.
He just seems like he would be a very private person that you wouldn't be able to find stuff out about.
Yeah.
But based off of this, and if he was drawing upon things, there's very obvious some issues with his mother. To me.
Yeah.
And maybe a distant father.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like it was might have had a tumultuous relationship with his mother. And obviously, well, I would hope this is an extreme version of it.
Yeah, Jesus, I mean, I hope so.
But, like, I don't know, because it's like you had this, and then he did Midsummer next, which, God, the first 10 minutes of that movie are some of the most devastating pieces of,
Yeah, that dude's not okay. Like, he's really not okay.
But I don't know, if he's drawing upon anything, I'm guessing that he has, like, some issues with his parents. Because, like, that's the whole entire crux of this.
Yeah.
I don't know if his grandmother tried to serve him up to a demon, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would believe it at this point. This dude's fucking crazy. The movies he makes, rather, are fucking crazy. But I thought it was interesting because, like, I felt like, you know how we were talking about Toni Collette has, like, the dollhouses and tableaus. Yeah. I feel like that maybe that's like almost like a meta thing. Like Ari Aster. Did you say Ari or Ari? Ari? Alright. Whoever the fuck he is. I feel like it's almost kind of meta. Like maybe he's working out these issues and he's making the characters do what he wants.
Well, that...
working through his trauma that way.
Well, let's get a little deep here about my own feelings. It's like, I think it'd be really cool to be a director and making films and stuff like that. But also, I think a big part of that is control.
Yeah.
And I tend to be a kind of person, like, if there's an extreme version of me, I always joke that I'd wind up being the Dark Knight Returns Batman who just controls Gotham with, like, an iron fist. Because, like, I'm all about planning and controlling my environment. It's why I don't drink. It's why I don't do drugs. Because I don't want to give up that control. And there's a lot to be said about being able to create art exactly how you want it. And I feel like that's an outlet that he gets at A24. Which I was kind of shocked that Robert Eggers left A24 to go make The Northman. But I'm guessing it's because, like, they gave him $90 million to make it.
Yeah. Pretty persuasive.
I have a feeling Ari Aster's not going to leave A24 because, like, he has so much control. And his films might be his dollhouses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was so realistic, and as far as I know, he has no therapy background. So I would bet money that this is based on his real life. I mean, like, I don't see how it couldn't be in some capacity. And so that makes me wonder, like, what does he get out of this? Like, what does he get out of all of this, like, torture? You know? I don't think
Torturing
it's, like...
us.
Well, no, that's, like, he tortures his characters. He tortures the audience. I don't think... It doesn't feel misogynistic to me, though. It more just feels like... Just generally, misanthropic.
Doesn't feel like Kubrick, who I'm pretty sure is just being an asshole.
Do you think Kubrick was a misogynist?
No, I think it was just an asshole.
Oh, yeah. No, like, that's what I mean. He's a misanthrope. I don't find Hereditary to be misogynistic.
And I think it's very interesting that both of his first two films had a female protagonist.
Yeah.
And now he is having, like, a male protagonist to his third film. And, you know what? It'll be interesting to see where he goes with his new film. Because from what I can tell, it's not a horror movie. It's...
Well,
it might still be horrifying.
I'm horrified. Yeah, I'm pretty horrified.
Like, it's not supposed to be a horror film.
Yeah.
Like Hereditary obviously is.
Yeah.
And I do want to throw out a little, I'm sorry, Robert. My friend Robert, my friend Foster and I went onto his podcast to do an A24 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted Swiss Army Man to win. And both Foster and I voted for Hereditary.
Oh. Better luck next time, Robert.
Hey, Swiss Army Man's a great film, and I'm glad that I rewatched it because the first time I watched it, I just did not get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, it's a farting corpse.
It was. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I was like, all right.
I definitely appreciated it a lot more the second time around watching it, and I also feel like I was probably in a more developed place to be able to watch it. Because, like, there's certain films that, like, I watched Raging Bull in high school. I thought it was trash. I thought it was just a couple of guys just yelling the F word at each other for 2+ hours.
That sounds fun to me.
It is, but it's much more.
Yeah, well, okay, fine, yeah, I get it.
But the thing is, like, I didn't appreciate the depth that film was going into because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I was, like, 16. And, like...
Everyone's an idiot at 16. I'll maintain that. I love teenagers.
I was an intelligent idiot. Like...
Even worse. Because you think you know more than you do. Your emotional brain hasn't caught up to your intellectual brain. It's bad. I had the same problem. It was pretty crazy.
My De Niro in there.
Yeah, I got it. I'm just doing the Italian pasta hands. I don't know. Anyway, don't ignore me.
So yeah, I definitely think that he's probably Ari Aster's. I'm imagining drawing upon some stuff because I feel like on some level, unless you're making like something completely just throwaway, silly, and goofy, you're going to be drawing upon something in your film because I feel like if you have some kind of connection to it, it's really going to bring out the best in your filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not like the healthiest, but it'll be entertaining.
Correct.
But listen, Ari Aster, if you need a therapist, please let me know. I want to be your therapist. I need to know what's going on with you. I'm fucking dying to know what's going on with you. I won't tell anyone, but like I need to know.
Paige specifically needs to
please reach out to me. And I do have a license, so we'll be fine. But
there you go.
Yeah.
I have a master's in accounting. I can't help you.
No, that's okay. You're a good friend. Like, I can talk to you about my problems. You're a good friend.
I'm a supportive individual who cares about the people in their life. But I am not trained, except, like, I have mental health first aid, which is basically, like, diffuse until somebody who knows what they're doing shows up.
What's mental health first aid? We can talk about this later. I'm curious.
I went through a whole entire training program.
I want to hear about this when we're done. But yeah,
You could go to the after video in the comments if you want to hear me talk about what mental health first aid is. So.
Oh my god. I've never even heard of. I mean, I sort of have. Okay, sorry, we're getting off topic. Yeah, but anyway, Ari Aster, please call me. I have to know what's going on with you.
And if you all have thoughts about Hereditary and maybe Ari Aster's mental state, you can leave comments below. But Paige,
yes,
thank you so much for coming on and chatting about Hereditary.
Woo! Thanks for having me.
It gave her an excuse to watch it for a second time.
Yeah.
I think that was it was the third time I had watched it because I showed it to Haley.
What did she think?
Oh, she loved it, but she was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
By the end?
Yeah.
By the end, you just have nothing left.
You really don't.
No.
It's amazing. Very good. 10 out of 10 portrayal of family trauma. Mm-hmm. Very realistic.
There you go.
Yeah.
But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.